All right, welcome back to Genius. So let's talk about events and event listeners. What are events and what are event listeners? Okay. So, what are events? An event is a signal that something has happened. All right. An event signals us that something has happened. It said the user has clicked a button, the browser window has just loaded, the the input element test has just changed. There are a lot of events. Okay, an event is just a signal that something has happened. So when something happens, we do something when something happens. All right. So that's the whole thing about events and event listeners. So when event happens, we listen to that event and do something with it. Okay, so an event is something that happens in your application that you can respond to. All right, a user clicking a button, a user have hovering their mouse on a particular element. There's just a lot of events. So it's something that happens in your application that you can respond to. Okay, so it could be triggered by a user clicking a button. It could be the browser just finished loading a page. All right. It could be that programmatically you're dispatching a custom event. You can create your own custom event and you would want to dispatch it and respond to it whenever it happens. So these are events. Event is just a signal that, oh, something has happened. And when something happens, you have to respond to that thing that has happened. So that's basically what it is. So what are event listeners? So when events happen, we listen to the events. Okay, so we write a function that waits for a specific event to happen on a specific element and then run some code when it does. So an event listener is a function that we write and it waits for a specific event to happen on a specific element. That means these event listeners, we will add them to a specific element and we are waiting for some events to happen on that element. And when that event happens, the function that we have written will run. Okay, so think of it like this. All right, you you are the event listener and you're waiting at the door for someone to knock, which is the event. So someone knocking on the door is an event. You standing at the door waiting, you are the event listener. So once somebody knocks at the door, when they knock, you respond by opening the door. That means you're running your code. All right. So you are the event listener waiting for somebody to knock on the door, and somebody knocking on the door is an event. So once they knock on the door, you respond by opening the door. That is the event and the function that you have written for that event running their code. All right. So what's the syntax like? Okay, first of all, you have to get reference of a particular of the element. All right, you want to add the event listener to. Okay, so first of all, you get the element. It's either you get the element by ID or however you get the element. First of all, you have to get the element. Once you get the element, you will now add event listener. So this is how we add event listener. Once you get the reference of the element, you now say dot add event listener. This add event listener is a function, and first of all, it will take a parameter of the name of the event. Here we are looking at the click event. All right, we are looking at the click event. And after that click event, we are now saying, okay, this is the function that you will run. Okay, so let's go to code. Let me show you. All right, so let's say I have okay, I have this button child. So let me get this button. Okay, so I will get, first of all, I will get this button. I'll say constant, I'll call it btn is equal to document. You have to get reference of the element that you want to add the event to. Get element by ID, and then the ID of this element is child. That's the ID of the button. Then, after doing that, I can now say btn.add event listener. Okay, so that's the function. So the first parameter is what is the event that I want to. You can see all of these things are events. You can see all the events coming out here. These are all events, okay? So that we can listen to. Before I want to listen to the click event. So I'm actually waiting for a user to click this button. And when this user clicks this button, which is the click event, I want to write a function. So I can go with an anonymous function like this. Okay. All right. So this is what I want to do. So I will run this. So this is the function I want to run. But here I can just say, okay, alert clicked. So this the simple thing I want to do. Whenever user clicks on this button, I want to run this function. And then this function, inside this function, what am I doing? I'm just alerting. So if I save now and go to live, I will click this button. Oops. Okay, sorry about that. Let me refresh. Let me refresh it. I'll click. Oh, the first one wasn't click. Okay, okay. All right, so I click. All right. So make sure you're clicking at the right place. Okay, so I click. All right. Okay, this is in a loop. That is why. Wait, let me take it out of that loop. It is in a loop. Yeah, sorry. It should be out of here. Okay. So it was in a loop. So I can just close this guy. Okay, so you are see, I got the element first, then I now said, okay, I'm adding an event listener to it. What is the event listener? What event do I want to listen to? The name of the event is click. And when this event happens, what do I want to do? I'm going to run this function. Okay, so now in this example, the event is click, and the listener is the function that shows the alert. Okay, so the event listener, the function that shows the alert is the event listener. Then it's attached to the button with ID, my button. In my own case, the name was child. And then you can also have event listener apart from the type of the event and the function itself. You can also add other options. So the options can be when you say capture. Don't worry, we are going to explain what we mean by this capture. All right. So you can say capture is true. All right. You can give another option which is once. Once means run this event just once. Okay. So let's go. Don't We're going to talk about capture later on, but we can give options here, and the options comes after. The options is an object. It comes after the function. So I can say here, I can now say, if I say capture, all right, capture is true. I can say once. If I say once is true, all right, what is going to happen is that this event listener will only run once. So if I go back to the browser now, because I have set this once option to be true. If I go back to the code, sorry, if I go back to the browser, all right, if I click, if I click this thing 100 times, that event listener would only run once. So look at it. It has run once. Okay. You can see it's no longer running again because what? I set it to be once. I said, okay, I want this event listener to only be called once. So you can see it can't call again. But if I go back to remove the once, if I go back to remove this one, this option, all right, and then if I click it 100 times, it will respond 100 times. Do you understand the difference now? So if you just want the event listener to just run once, you would have to use the once option. You can also say it is passive. When you say passive is true, that means it cannot call prevent default. Don't worry, we'll talk about this prevent default later on. Okay, but prevent default means that if you prevent default, we'll call prevent default on the event object to prevent the browser default. Now, let's say you want to submit a form. Okay, the default behavior of that form is that it will reload the page. It will reload the page. But if you say prevent default, it will not reload the page. The default behavior of an anchor button, an anchor link, an anchor tag is to navigate to another page. But if you call it and you say prevent default, that means that anchor tag will not navigate to the next next page. But now when you say passive, it means that you cannot use prevent default. All right. If you say this event listener is passive, it means that we cannot call prevent default. If you say that the once value is true, it means that this code will only run once. If you say capture it true, it means that this will trigger the capture phase. Don't worry, we'll explain this one more better. So this passive true and not being able to call the prevent default. We'll also talk about what prevent default is later on, okay? All right, so but these are the options, just have them in mind. So let's talk about the event object, okay? When an event occurs, the browser passes an event object to the listener. All right. So look at it. When the event happens, the browser will pass an event object to the listener. So you can actually get this event object. When you call this, for when this event happens, the browser will pass this event object to the listener. All right. To the listener. So if I go on and say, I think let me comment this guy. Okay, so if I go on and say, instead of alerting, I want to console.log the event. All right, so this is the event object. It is an object. All right, so you will get it from the browser, and the browser will pass it to this function, that's your event listener function. So you will get it inside of this parent as an argument. Okay, so the browser will give it to you so you can work with it. So the event object, all right, is passed by the browser. So look at it. Element.add event listener, the event you're listening is click, and the function is event. So you can actually go and if I console this event.type, it will tell us the type of the event is click. That's the name of the event. The target, it tell us the element. So let's just go and experiment this because I have already console.log the event. Let's go and see what this object looks like. So I will open my console. So I think we have an error. We have an error in my code. Okay, yeah, we have an error in my code. Okay, to function this. Okay, I think it's from here. All right. It's from here. Okay. So, all right, the error is gone. So if I click on this button now, you can see this is the event listener. This is the event object. Okay. All right, it has, look at some of the properties that it has. It's trusted, hotkey, bubble, buttons, cancel, bubble. Look at the object that it has. All right. So you can do a whole lot with this object. This object gives a lot of information here. Okay. It gives a lot of information. Okay. So now, you can check for the type of the event. Okay, so if I go back to the browser now, let's check for the event type. Now you can see the type is click. It means that what type of event, the name of this event is click. So the event.type will give you the click with name of the event. Look at the timestamp. All right. Okay, let's take them one by one. Let's take them one by one, okay? So the event object contains properties like type, target, prevent default, stop propagation, key code, especially when the event is a keyboard event. But the thing is this, in the next session, we are going to discuss this event object in details. We'll take some time, discuss it in this detail, and explain every single object and the methods that this event object has. Okay, so now how do you remove an event listener? You have written an event, you have added an event listener to an element. So how do you remove it? For you to be able to remove event listeners, you have to it has to be these are the conditions. First of all, the callback is a named function, not anonymous. I use an anonymous callback function. So if you want to be able to remove the event listener, your callback has to be a named function. So I'm going to correct that now. and then you use the same event type and function. So if you say um, you write this function how, and then you now say button.add event, click and grid. So if I want to remove this event listener, all I have to do is to say remove event listener. Then I'll say what event do I want to remove? I want to remove the click event. And what function do I want to remove? I want to remove the grid function. So if I go back now, okay, I will take this function. I'll take this function and I'll give it a name. I'll give it a name. I can just say the name is listen. Okay. And in here, I'll pass in the name like this. Of course, everything will work fine. Everything will work fine. Everything will work fine. So if I go back to the browser and click the event, of course, everything is working fine. So now if I want to remove this event, because I have given it a named function, after adding it, look at what I can do. I can also do this. I can also say btn dot remove event listener. What event do I want to remove? I want to remove the click event. And what's event listener? The event listener is listen. Okay, so now look at it. I have added and have removed. What do you think? Do you think this will work again? No. If I go on and click, it will not work again because I added the event. Okay, I added the event. I added the event listener and I'm removing it even before the click. So if I go on, it will not work. So it is as if that I no longer have the event listener because I added and removed it. So if I click on this, oops. Oh, what happened? It's not supposed to. Okay, so this is supposed to happen. Um, okay, so um, remove event listener, click, listen. It is supposed to. Okay. If I do this after the click event, I want to remove it. So if I click, what is, hmm, do I miss my code wrong? For the fact that I have removed the event listener, it's not supposed to be there anymore. So I don't know what is wrong with my code. So for the fact that I removed the event listener, it's not supposed to be there. Okay. I added here and I removed, so it's not supposed to be there. Okay. If I comment this out. Anyway, this thing it didn't work the way I expected, and I wouldn't have enough time to debug it now. But the thing, what I believe here is that for the fact that I added and removed it, it's not supposed to work anymore. Okay, it's not supposed to work anymore. So, but I don't know what is wrong with my code, and it will take me some time to figure it out. I don't know where I have gotten something wrong. Okay, I don't know where I got something wrong. So. For the fact, I added an event here and I removed it. Okay, if I save, go to the browser and click, you see. So it's not even removing it. Something is wrong with my code. Yeah, something is wrong with my code. Okay, so I will figure it out later on, and I will relate to you guys. But what I think is this: once I added the event and event listener and removed it, it's not supposed to work. So, but it's okay. We can just continue. We figure it out later on because if I go on to this class is already long, so I don't want to waste so much time debugging the code. Okay, so what is event propagation? Now the thing is then, um, event propagation describes the order in which event handlers are called when an event happens on an element nested inside another element. So when you have an element nested inside another element and an event happens on that nested element, there is a way the whole event flow occurs. So when we go back to our code, all right, you can see that this button is inside another div, and this div is also inside another div. So there is a way this whole eventing happens. So that is what explains it is what we call event propagation. So there are three phases, all right, of this our event. The first phase is the capturing phase, all right. It happens from the window down to the target. All right, the target is actually the button that you clicked. Remember, the button is inside the div and the div is inside another div. So the main target of this event is the button of which that's what you click. So, but the thing is this event, once you click the button, the event will start from the top down to the target. So that's what we call the capture. We are going to explain this thing better. Please pay attention. The target phase is when the event has hit the element. That means the element that was clicked. Okay, and then bubbling means that bubbling is from the target up the window again. Now let's explain a bit. This is how the event flows. All right. Now we have this structure outer. All right. We have this div. We have another div, and we have this button inside of this div. So this button is nested inside of this div. When you click on this button, all right, the event will start propagating from the top down to the bottom, from the bottom back to the top. Okay, so look at it. If you click the button, the event starts at the top, or the outer div, flows down to the inner, all right, the inner now is the button. So from the outer div to the target element, which is the inner button. So this is called capturing. The phase whereby the event flows from the top down to the target element, which is the button in this case, is called the capturing phase. Now, it will hit the target, which is the inner, the button with the inner, and it will bubble back. It will go back to the top. Then it bubbles back up to the outer. Now, if you understand these things, it's going to help you a lot. So pay close attention. And it's actually confusing. I'll try my best to explain the best way I can. So the event starts at the top, flows down to the inner, goes back, hits the target, and goes back to the outer. Okay, so look at it. What is the capturing phase? When a user interacts with a web page, like clicking a button, the event doesn't just appear at that element. Just like this structure we saw here, we have a button inside a div and a div inside a button. So when the user clicks the button, the event doesn't just appear at that element. First of all, it will start from it actually travels down the DOM tree from the outermost element, which is the window or the document, down to the actual target. So when you click a button, all right, the event will start from the window down to the element that was clicked, and from the element that was clicked to go back again. That one is called bubbling. It will bubble back. So when it's coming from the DOM tree down to the target element, it is called capturing phase. When it hits the target, when it hits the target element, it is called a target phase. And then it bubbles back and goes back to the travel back to the top of the DOM tree. So this downward journey is called a capturing phase. Okay, so let's take a look at capturing in action. Imagine you click a button inside a nested structure. All right, something like this. You can see this button is inside of this div, and this div is inside of another div, and this other div is inside of the body. So when you click, all right, when you click on that button, the event follows this path during the capturing phase. It will start from the window object, down to the document, down to the HTML, down to the body, down to the outer, down to the inner, before it gets to the button that was clicked. So this is the capturing phase. All right. Now, once it hits the target, the element that was clicked, which is the button, it becomes the target phase. But after that, it will bubble back. it will travel back from the button to the inner, to the outer, to the body, to the HTML, to the document, to the window. This one is now called the bubble phase. All right. So how to capture the inner phase? How do you capture the inner phase? First of all, you would have in your event listener, you will have to activate the capturing phase. You have to activate the capturing phase. So you can see it's either you say if add event listener, the name of the event, then the handler, which is the function, and then you just say true. Or you can use the full option here. You say capture is equal to true. All right. So this side, so let me show you. Let's go back to our code. Then I'm going to uncomment this. I'll take this guy off. Then I'll uncomment this one. All right. So you can see we have this structure. We have the grandparent, we have the parent, and we have the child, which is the button. So we are actually adding an event listener on this parent. All right. This click event on this parent. So we got the ID of the element, we got the element, and inside of it, we are running this code. So we are doing here, we are saying we have this is an array of the IDs of the element, and we are looping through each of them. This is supposed to, you're supposed to understand what this code is doing here. All right. This is loop for each loop on the array. All right. So as we're looping through each of them, we are getting the ID, and then with the ID, we are using it to get the element. For every loop, we are getting the ID, and with the ID, we are getting the element. So you can see on the element, we are adding the click event. Okay, we are adding the click event, and we are in one of them. All right, we are enabling the capture phase. So for you to enable the capture phase, you add your event listener, the name of the event, this is the handler, all right, and this is true. If you just say true, it means that this true is for the capture. Or you can say, but this is somehow advanced for you, all right? But I believe it will also help you if you know this, all right? You can do more with the DOM manipulation if you know this. So this is capture, all right? So this is capture, this is bubbling, and this one is the click event. So let's take an example of the capturing and the bubble event. So we have this click event, all right? And we are setting the capturing to true. We also have this one for the bubbling, and the bubbling is the default. Whether you do anything about it, it will always bubble back. So the capturing phase will always happen, all right? But you have to indicate that you want to make use of it. But the bubbling phase is by default, it happens. So it travels down from the top to the target element, and from the target element back, it bubbles up. Okay, so when you do this, okay, you can actually have, okay, so now let's go and let me show you what I want to show you here. So okay, let me do something here. Okay, so I will just say, ID clicked. So you can see that this event listener, we are adding this first event listener to the parent. So if we click on this div, all right, it would trigger this click event, and this code will run. And inside of this code, we are looping through the IDs of the elements. And then for each of them, we are getting the element, and we are adding event listeners to them. So if I go ahead and run this code, okay, look at what will happen if I click. Okay, sorry, I think I saw Grandparent click, grandparent bubble. It's like I am preventing something. Come on, where is my code? For each of this, we get this. Okay. What is happening? So, grandparents captured, grandparent bubbled, and it stopped. No, it's not supposed to stop. What is wrong with my code today, man? What is wrong? What is wrong with my code today? This is supposed to. Okay, bubbled. Okay, wait a minute. Console.log ID create, console.log ID bubble. This is supposed to go through. Hmm. Did I stop anything? There's no. The capture event is not even happening, I think. The capture event is not even happening. So something is wrong with my code. What is happening today? Today. Hmm. Okay. Taking me time to debug this code, but let's just do it. Okay. It seems like I'm getting. Okay. Okay. I think I get it. All right. Uh-huh. Okay, now it is it depends on where I actually click this button because the event, okay, the event listener is on the click event is on the div. The click event is on the div, so it's not on the. Okay, let me rewrite this code. Okay, so instead of the parent, let me go for the child. I think it will just get the button for me instead of so it was supposed to bubble all. Okay. Parent click parents what of the child. Okay, this is actually not working the way I expected it, but what I want to show you here is this. You can see the grandparent, let's start from this grandparent capture, parent capture, child clicked, child bubble, parent. You can see everything is going back, but there's a way this thing is supposed to work. It's not working exactly the way I wanted. It's not working the way exactly I wanted. But if I click again, you see the second time it gives me, but that means there is a bug in my code, but I cannot go through that to take a look at it. But look at it. We are capturing here. So the parent, grandparent was captured, parent was captured, child was captured. So it's coming from top to the bottom. Then after that, it gave us the child was clicked. Then child bubble again, parent clicked, parent bubble, parent click. So, anyways, this could be confusing at your stage now, but I don't know. I don't know. This could be confusing for you. But if you try to understand and if you understand it, to grab it. But if you don't understand it, no problem. It's not a big deal in case you don't understand it. Okay, so you might not even be using it right now, but you're supposed to know this. So why should you use capturing? Now, capturing can be useful in specific cases if you want to intercept early. I think this is somehow advanced for you guys. Okay. Anyways, if you would want to learn this, if you want to learn this, all right, just reach out to me. If you don't understand this capturing thing, reach out to me so that I can explain to you better. But I think we should skip it. This is somehow you most it is very obvious that you might not even be writing code of this. So I don't even know why I brought this thing in, but it's okay that you know what we mean by event propagation. Okay. Whenever you click a button or whenever an event happens on an element, understand that the event will start from the topmost down to that element, and then it will bubble back. So when it's coming down from the topmost down to the element, it is called capturing phase. And when it hits the element, it's called the target phase. And when it goes back, bubbles back, it's called the bubbling phase. So in case you want to terminate, you want to handle an event before it reaches the target, you can use the capturing phase. All right. You can use the capturing phase and do something. You can also, for security and analytics purposes, you can log user interactions before the app processes them. Okay, you can debug propagation issues, but this is somehow a bit higher than your level now. So let's leave it. Okay. So even the experiment, we just have to leave it too. Okay, so you can also write your own custom events. You can write your own custom event. So how do you do it? First of all, you have to use the new custom event. All right. If you want to write your own custom event, you use the new custom event, give it a name and give it detail. All right. Give it a name and give it detail. This is also optional. So, and after doing that, you can now add it. You can now add it. You can add it to any of the elements. All right. Just like the way you do. Then after doing that, you will have to say document or dispatch event. All right. So you will have to call the dispatch event on it. This is another moreover, this is another advanced thing. So, but just understand that you can create your own custom event. All right. You will use the new custom event object, pass in the name of the event and detail as an object like this. Okay. Then you add it the way you have been adding other event listeners, and then you call it dispatch event. After creating your event, you must call the dispatch event method. All right. You must call it. Okay. So thank you very much. I know this class has been very long, but the one that you don't really understand, please reach out to me so that I can explain more and try to do your test, try to do your assignment. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next session. All right, welcome back, the genius. So in this session, let's talk about the event object. We saw the event object in our previous sessions, and we need to understand what it is, what are the properties, what are the methods, what do we use them for. We really need them, okay? If you really understand this event object and working with the DOM, handling event and listeners, it's just going to be amazing, okay? So what is an event object? What does the event object look like? Now, the event object is central in web development, right? Because there's no way you manipulate the DOM. There's no way you will handle events that you're not going to be sure. There's no way you do anything in the web, any web application that you don't work with events. There is no way, because users must interact with your application. And since they would interact with the application, they will be you'll be listening to some of the events you might be expecting them to do. And when that event happens, you have to listen to those events and then handle those events. So when you're doing that, you have the event object, and you can use the event object to your advantage if you really understand the event object. So when handling user interactions in the browser, you really need the event object. It is very, very central in web development. Okay, so the event object represents an event that takes place in the DOM. So the event object will give you every details of the event that took place. That event that you were listening to, that event you want to handle, that event you're waiting for the user to actually fire, the event object will give you every details about it. Okay. So it is automatically passed to the event handler functions. So when you create your event handler, all right, when you add an event listener to your element, the event object is passed to that handler function. All right. So it could be a click, it could be a key press, it could be form submission, it can be any event. So if this event object will be passed to the object, the handler function that you have written to handle that event. So look at this one. Here we are saying element.add event listener. What event do we want to listen to? We are listening to the click event. So whenever the user clicks on this event, this function will be called. And while calling this function, the browser will give you this event object. This is the event object inside of this parenthesis. The browser will give it to you as an argument. And when you get that, you can now work with this event object however you wish to. Okay, so let's go and do something. Let's go to code and let me show you. So I think I'll just have to comment this out. I'll comment it out. Or I will just delete everything. I'll just delete everything. Okay, so now I have so here I have constant btn, all right, is equal to document dot okay, document dot get element by ID, and the ID is child. So once I get this element, I can now add event listener. So I want to listen to, I'll say btn dot add event listener. What event am I adding? I'm adding the click event, and the function, I could use an arrow function, or I could just use an anonymous function here. Okay, so remember, the event will be passed in here, okay, as an argument. So what do? I can just console.log this event object. I don't know why I'm not getting IntelliSense here, but it's okay. So now, if I go on and run this code now, all right, once I click this button, all right, the event will be consoled. The event object will be consoled. So if I go on and okay, so let me open my console. And if I click on this, if I click on it, you can see I got the event. All right, this is the event, okay? So if I expand this event, then you see there's a whole lot of information here, a whole lot of properties here. All right, there's a whole lot, okay? There is just a whole lot here. There's a whole lot here, okay? So, all right. So you can see the event here. So let's go now and study this event that we have. Let's study this event object, see the properties that are mostly used, and also the method. So let's take a look at the properties of this event object. The first one is the type. Now, when you actually handle an event or listen to an event, all right, the event object that was passed to your handler function would give you the type of event that actually happened. So is it a click event? Is it a mouse over? Is it a key press? Whatever the type is. So this type basically gives you the name of the event. All right. This type gives you the name of the event. So example, it could be click event, it could be key down event, it could be submit event. Okay. So it is useful when the same handler is used for multiple event types. Okay, so let me I'm going to explain this to you now. This is very, very useful when you're using the same event handler. You can use one event handler, you can use one function to handle multiple events. So let me show you. I'll go back to this. So instead of doing this here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this function out. All right, and I will create this function here. I will call this function event handler. Although for me, I would prefer I would prefer to have a single event handler for everyone. So now I can say I'm expecting a click event. So I can say here I will just the handler like this. Okay. And let me also do some other thing. When we mouse over, let me do something. Okay. btn dot add event listener. Then what do I want? I want a mouse over. I want a mouse over. So when I mouse over, I'm calling this event handler. Now look at it. I have two events here. I'm handling two events here. All right, I'm listening to two events here, and I'm using the same event handler. So look at what will happen. With this, I can actually perform, I can perform some operations based on the type of the event. So look at it. If I go on now, first of all, I will say console.log type of this event. This will give us the type of the event. But now, after giving us the type of the event, what I want to do is this. I will say if event.type is equal to click, all right, I would alert um, clicked, all right, else, okay, if event dot type is equal to mouse over, then what do I do? I would alert mouse over. Okay, so now because I'm using the same event handler, all right, to handle both the click event and the mouse over event, so I can do some certain things based on my logic. I can do some certain things based on the type of the event. So based on the type of the event, I can perform some operations here. So let's go back to the browser. Then now we are handling mouse over, we're handling click event. So if I go on and look at it, if I take my mouse over this, you can see, first of all, we have mouse over, that's the type. Oh, okay, wait. Let me make this code better. I will say, hmm, I will say event type. Okay, I will do this. So, all right. Now look at it. If I take my mouse over, look at it. All right, you can see on the console, it says the event type is mouse over, and it has alerted mouse over. All right, but if I click it, now the thing is this mouse over will be disturbing us because, okay, so I'm going to remove the alert now so that this alert will not be stopping us from doing something. So, instead of saying, I can just say console.log. Yeah, so that this guy will not be interrupting us. The alert is interrupting our program. So this would still work. So I'll go on now. If I mouse over, all right, you can see the event type is mouse over and the console was mouse over. So if I click, all right, you can see the event type now is click and we clicked. So if I click again, if I mouse over, if I mouse over, if I mouse over, so you can see the event type. So you're using this event type to get the type of event that was handled. So you can actually use this event type to do so many other things in case you're using one event handler to handle all the more than one event, multiple events, okay? So now, what of the target? Another property here is the target. The target tells you the exact DOM element that initiated the event, all right? So look at it. It is critical when using event delegation to determine which child was clicked. Now, there's something we call event delegation, okay? We will talk about it at the end of this session. So now, but event delegation is this. Like you already know, okay? Like you already know, we have this the grandparent, we have this parent, we have this one. So we can actually, because of event propagation, as we talked about event propagation the last time, there will be capturing phase, there will be target phase, and there will be bubble phase. So if I can handle this event at any of these places. So imagine if I go on now to say, I don't want to handle this event at the child element. I can call this event on the parent. So if I say parent now, all right, now it's no longer going to be on the button. This is not going to be on the parent div. Do you understand? So I will have to take all this. Okay. So maybe I can just remove this. Yeah, let me remove this mouse over. There will be no need. And I think I should just also do this. Okay. So now I am not handling this event at the target. The target element here is the one that we are clicking, which is the button. But because of event propagation, remember, I can also handle this event at the parent level or even the grandparent level. Remember, this event, whenever you click on this button, the event will propagate from window down to the HTML, the document, down to the body, down to the parent div, down to the grandparent div, the parent div, and stuff like that, and then it will bubble back. Now, that means I can handle this event at any place. Right now, I'm handling this event at the parent, which is this one, not on the button. So now, if I go on, look at it. If I go on and click this button, it will still be handled. Look at it. If I click on it, you see, it was handled. But who is the target? The parent, the place that we are handling this event is not the target element. The target element is the button here. That is where the event actually happened. All right, that is where the click event actually happened. But we are handling this on the parent because of event propagation. So if you want to get the target object, that if you, in case you're handling this event you're not handling the event on the target object. In this scenario now, we are handling it on the parent, on this parent D. You can still get the target object. So I can say event.target. I can say event.target. All right, look at it. I can say event.target. Give me the event.target. It is going to give me the object that was clicked. The object that was right now, this event is being handled at the parent div, not on the button. But the button is actually the target element. So if I say event.target, it's going to give me this button because that is where the event happened. So if I go back to the browser, and if I click now, look at it. This click event is being handled on the parent div. It's not being handled on the button. But if I click on this button now, the event.target will give me the target element. And look at it. It gave me the target element. So in case I want to work with this target element, I can do whatever I want to do with it. All right. Now I can actually say, okay, I want the ID of this target element. I can say event.target dot. I can even say test content. All right, I can say test content. All right, remember the test content will give you the text. It's going to give us click me now. The test content will give us click me because that's the test of that object. So if I click on it, you can see it gave us click me. So you can do whatever you want to do with this this object, the target. This target event.target will give you the element that was actually clicked, where the event really happened, not where the event was handled. Right now, we are handling the event in a separate element because of event bubbling and event capturing, because of event propagation. But you can actually get to the event object by doing event.target. You can also do something like event.value. Let me see if this one works here. We use this one mostly when we are doing working with input test. Okay. Now, this doesn't have any value, but yeah, it wouldn't because we always use this value when we are working with input element. Okay, so now you can see this event.target will give you the element that was really clicked, where that event really happened. Then the next one will give you the Current target will not give you where the event was handled. The target, event.target will give you where the event really happened, but the current target will not give you where the event was handled, where the listener was actually attached to. So in this case, it will give us the parent object. So look at it. See, here we are saying give us event.target, all right, which is the button. Then let's also ask it to give us event.current_target. Now the current target will not give us where the event was handled. Okay, it will give us current target to give us where the event was handled. Now the event was handled on this parent div. All right, that's where the event was handled, but the event was targeted at this button. So this button is the event.target object, while this div is the event.current object, the current target. So if I take this event handler now and put it on the grandparent div, that the grandparent div will not be our current target. So let's go to the browser. If I click, you see we got the target object, event.target, and we got the event.current object. And you can see it has all these. So this is where the event was handled, and this is where the event was clicked. All right? Okay. We also have bubbles. Bubble is actually is a Boolean value. It indicates whether the event will bubble up through the DOM or not. So if you change this value to 4, that means the event will no longer bubble. All right, you understand what we mean by bubble, okay? So it can help you to determine if propagation will reach ancestor listeners. Okay, it would help you to do that. So if I go on and say, okay, I want to change the bubble, you can also use this one when you're creating your custom event, because when you're creating your own custom event, you can actually give these values, because it's going to be in the object you give the event. So you can say bubble could be false, that you don't want it to bubble. You understand what bubbling is. You don't want it to bubble. So we also have another one, cancelable. When you say cancelable, now if it shows if prevent default can stop the default action. I don't know if we have talked about prevent default. I think we mentioned it in last section. But whenever you call the e.prevent default, all right, it will prevent the default behavior of that element. Okay, so the default behavior of an anchor tag is to take you to another web page. The default behavior of this form element is to submit the form. The default behavior of so many of them. So the thing is this: if you call event.prevent default, all right, it will not. The default behavior will be stopped. So when you say cancelable, it shows if the prevent default can stop the prevent default action. So you use it when you know whether you can prevent something like form submission. So definitely the cancelable is true, because we can, on any element at all, you can actually prevent the default behavior. So definitely it's always true. All right. So if I go on now and say event.cancel, if I go and say event.cancel, cancelable, right? Is it cancelable or cancel? Cancelable. I think so. I think it's cancelable. So if I go on and click, oh, sorry. I think I didn't get the name. I didn't get the name. Cancel. Okay, I used double L. All right, my bad. My bad. Okay, so if I click me, now you can see that it is cancelable, because yes, we can cancel the event, the default behavior, which is the prevent default. Okay, we can cancel it. So, all right. Then if you try to go and, if you track the bubble, if you say event.bubbles, all right, it will give you true, because yes, this event can bubble. All right, it can bubble. So in case you change it to false, all right, it would no longer bubble. All right, we showed you the example of capturing and then bubbling last time. Okay, so when you say default prevented, all right, there is a property of the event that now whenever you call the e.event.prevent default, okay, this default preventer will be true. It returns true if prevent default was already called. Okay, so look at it. If I go on now and call the prevent default, all right, this default preventer would be false. So it is useful in custom component logic to check if default behavior has been blocked. So look at it. Now, instead of doing all these things, I will say event dot prevent default. All right, once I call this, and then I will now say console.log event dot default prevented. I think that's the name. I believe so. That's the name. Default prevented. Okay. Default prevented. Okay, so I'm going to call this default prevented before I call the default prevent default. So look at it. Remember, this default preventer will give you true or false depending on whether this prevent default has been called. Now that the first time it has not been called, so it will give us false because it has not been prevented. But after calling the prevent default, it's going to give us true because we have called the prevent default. So you use this in case you want to check, has anybody called this prevent default before you can do anything? So if you go on and run this code now, it will give you false and true. You see, the first time we checked this property, the prevent default has not been called. But after we now called it, it now became true. Okay, so these are things you can actually work with and do something better with the events object. So the timestamp would also give you the time in millisecond when the event was created. What's the use case? It is used for profiling or measuring the user interaction speed. So basically, you use this one to know how fast the user is really interacting with your application. But this is somehow advanced. It's used in profiling, okay? So now, but you can actually know that there is a timestamp property on the event. So it's trusted. You use this would either give you true or false, depending if this event was trusted. This event will be trusted if the event was generated by the browser. It will give you true if the event was generated by the browser, or false if it's generated by JavaScript. Now, in case it is for security reasons, all right, in your code, you might want to only accept or handle events that were generated by the browser. You don't want to take any risk. People can just inject JavaScript into your code and they will do certain things. So you can use this is trusted on that event to actually, you say if the event is not trusted, I'm not going to do anything. So if we go on now and check and say, I think I'll take all these guys out and say console.log, all right, is this event trusted? Is trusted? So if the event is not trusted, you might not do anything, or if the event is not trusted, you don't do anything. Right now, it is trusted because it is generated by JavaScript, by the browser. But if it is generated by JavaScript, it will be false, and it can be a reason for concern, okay? So you can actually use this thing to do anything based on if the event was trusted, okay? So you can also check for modifier keys. You can also check if the control key was clicked, if the shift key was clicked, or you can check for control key, shift key, alt key, meta key. So they will give you true if these guys. So if you want to check if control key was clicked, all right, you would use control key. The event.control key will tell you whether the user pressed the control key, okay? Shift key will tell you if the user press the shift key, okay? And the alt key will tell you if the user press the alt key. So you can actually do all these things, okay? So it's as simple as calling event.control key, it will return true or false. Event.shift key to return true or false, depending if the user clicked the control key or the shift key, okay? So there's something we already know about the event phases, okay? When we talk about event propagation, capturing phase, target phase and the event phase, the bubble phase. So when it is on the capturing phase, the event phase will give you one. Okay, so the target phase, this event phase will give you 2. On the bubbling phase, event phase will give you 3. So you will say event phase, all right? Remember, you can actually capture this event. You have to put that event capture equals to true. Remember, we did it in the last session. So if you want to capture by default, you can capture by default, you're capturing the bubbling phase, all right? But if you want to if you want to get the capturing phase, you have to indicate that you want to use it. And we taught it in the last session how to use it. So you can check which phase the event is in. So when it is in capturing phase, the value of this event phase is 1. When it is in bubbly phase, it is 2. So you can say event phase. Okay, so if I save now and go to the browser and click on it, it's going to give us 1, 2, or 3. So it gave us 3 because this 3 shows that it is in the bubbling phase. Why? Because remember, this is not the target element. Remember, we are calling it gave us 3 because it is in the bubbling phase. Now let me explain to you. Remember, by default, because we are not capturing the capturing phase, we are not going to get this. But if I go ahead and say and put through here, all right, it will capture the capturing phase. So let's go back. If I want now, I have activated the capturing phase. If I go and click it again, it will give us 1. Now it shows us that, yeah, this is the capturing phase. But if I remove it, all right, by default, it will give you the bubbling phase. So remember that this click event didn't happen at the target phase. So we are handling this event at the bubbling phase, either the capturing phase or the bubbling phase. But right now, since we did not activate the capturing phase here, all right, we are by default doing the bubbling phase. So now this event phase will give us 3 because it is the bubbling phase. But if I go ahead and change this event to actually happen on the button, which is the child element, just forget about the name I'm using here. I'm actually targeting this child button element. So this click is now happening on the target phase. So if I go now and click, it will give us what? 2. If I click, it will give us 2. So 2 is the target phase. So you can use this thing to check at what phase is this click event happening. Depending on how you wrote your code, all right, right now, because this a click event is being handled on the target phase, that's why it's giving me 2 for the target phase, all right. If the other time, if I take it back to the parent, it will give me 3 because it's being handled at the bubbling phase. But if I try to activate the capturing phase, this event will be handled at the capturing phase. Okay, so event phase 1 is capturing phase, 2 is target phase, and 3 is bubbling phase. All right. So there's something we also call the event phase constant. All right. So you can actually get this. We can use it. You can use the event object to event.capturing phase. All right. If it is on the capturing phase, it will give you capturing phase, and capturing phase is 1. At target phase is 2. These are the constant. These are constant. So I can say, give me. I can say console.log event dot capturing phase, that is everything is capital. Okay, everything is capitalized. So now I can say event dot capturing phase. So these are constants. If I say console the event of capturing phase, okay, is equal to event dot events, event dot events sorry. I'm sorry about that. Okay. So now I want to capture now. If I run this code now, I need to explain this thing better for you guys to get it. Okay. So let me explain better. There's something we call constant. That we how do I put it? Now, this event is happening on the bubbling phase. Okay. So now the bubbling phase is actually event.bubbling phase. Anyways, let me go back to slide. Okay. When, look at it. Okay, let me explain it this way. When the event is happening on the capturing phase, the event.capturing phase will be equal to 1. This is a constant, and you can get it from the event object. All right. The event.capturing phase will be 1. So the event.capturing phase will be equal to 1. When it's happening at the target phase, this at target event.at target will be equal to 2. When it's happening on the bubbling phase, the bubbling phase will be 3. So if I go now and say, now check out this one. This one is actually happening on the bubbling phase. So I can actually go and say bubbling. Okay, bubbling phase. I can go and say, is this event.bubbling phase? Yes, it is equal to this because this event phase will give us 2, and this event.bubbling phase is actually equal to 2. So if I go now and run this code on the browser, we will get through because we are actually taking this thing on the bubbling phase. If I change it to the target phase, that means this one will give us what? 2. And this one, we'll have to go for the target phase. I don't know how best to explain this now, but anyways, try to understand it. And if you don't understand, no problem. It is somehow advanced, okay? These are constants that JavaScript are created on the event object, okay? And this event class actually have these constants. So if you want to check, all right, if it is at the capturing phase, you can actually use this and do whatever you want to do with it. So let's go to methods of event objects. The first one is prevent default. You have already seen it. It will prevent the browser's default behavior for that event. So when to use it? When you want to prevent form submission, all right? When you want to disable linked navigation, when you want to block checkbox toggle. So if you want to prevent the default behavior of a particular element, all right, you would actually call this event.prevent default. And then once you call it, the default behavior of that event element will not happen. Just like when you click on the link, it will take you to a new page. But if you call the prevent default, it will not take it to prevent the default behavior. Okay, stop propagation will stop propagation. Remember, we talked about propagation. So if you don't want bubbling or capturing to happen, all right, if you don't want bubbling to happen after clicking an event or after when you're processing that event, if you don't want it to bubble or you don't want it to capture, if you don't want this propagation process to happen, you just call the stop propagation method. Once you call it, it will stop the event from bubbling up to the parent element. You know, sometimes when you click on a button, all right, if there is any event handler on the parent element, that event handler would also be called. So let me show you this example of now. Okay, look at it. I have this. Now I'm handling this event on the parent on this div, but the event is actually happening on the target on this button. So I can just say event dot stop propagation. The stop propagation. So if I call this stop propagation, watch, the event will no longer propagation. Okay, propagation. This event will no longer bubble to the top. That means this event will no longer be handled. Remember, this will stop bubbling from happening. Now, this event is being handled on the parent. So, but if the click event, when I click on the button, the event is being handled on the parent. So if I don't want this thing to bubble up, I will call the event the stop propagation. That means this guy will not be called anymore because we stopped bubbling. So if I go on, all right, and click this button, look at it, nothing will happen because I stopped propagation. I stopped the bubbling phase from happening. And because of I am taking advantage of the bubbling phase to actually handle this event on the parent element. All right. So if you want to prevent bubbling from happening, I believe you understand what bubbling is. So if you want to prevent it from happening, right, you call the event the propagation method. So it stops the parent event listener from firing. That's what just happened now. It handled the event only at the current level. All right. And this is the example, just like you have seen now. So if you want to, there's something one we call stop immediate propagation. Stop immediate propagation, this kind of function, you will call it when you have a lot of other listeners on the same element. Okay, so let me show you. So when do you use it? You prevent multiple handlers on the same element from running. It will block duplicate actions or race conditions. Okay, so now let me show you something. Let's imagine, okay, let's go back to, let's take this thing back to the child. Let's handle this event on the child. And then I have this event. I will say I want to handle click event. Okay, I will call this click event. And then on this click event, I'm going to call stop immediate propagation, right? That's the name. Stop immediate propagation. So I will go and call stop immediate. Should be immediate is double M. Please pardon me. Immediate, yeah, double M. All right. My English is no longer is getting bad. All right. Stop immediate propagation. Now I could also have another handler, and I will call it. Oops. I will call it, instead of click event, I will call it mouse event. So you can see now I'm having multiple. So on the click event, I'm handling click event. I'm also going to handle mouse over. So on this element, I'm actually handling mouse handler. So, but I have to remove this one here. So normally I'm going to say console.log. I'll say console.log mouse over. All right. And here I will say console.log. So without, I'm going to comment this stop immediate propagation so that I can explain this. What's happening now? Oh. Oops. Okay, so I want to comment this. All right. So I comment this. Now look at it. We have two event handlers on this element. Okay, so when I mouse over, we are going to get this event to fire. All right. When I click, this other event to fire. So let's go on and see. If I mouse over, you can see the mouse over has been consoled. And if I click, you can see I mouse over, I click, I mouse click, I click, I mouse over. So we have two events here. All right. Now, if I go on now and say, please prevent the immediate, I think I should take this guy to the mouse over because that's what happens first. All right. I'm saying prevent the immediate propagation. So what it means is this: if there are multiple event handlers on this element, prevent them, just run the first one only, run this one only, prevent every other one. So now that means this mouse over event will run, handler will run, but the click event will not run. So let's go and see. Now, because I have called the stop immediate propagation, all right, once I hover my mouse on this event, on this button, the mouse over event will be handled, but the click event will not be handled because we have said stop any propagation, stop immediate propagation. If that element has multiple handlers on it, it will not work again. So if I take my mouse over, you can see the mouse over is working, but if I click, oops, it's still working. Wow, what's happening? Hmm. Wow. Okay. This also happening. I don't know. I don't know. This is it's supposed to. Okay, see, I'm going to actually find this thing out. I'm going to figure it out and it is supposed to stop immediate propagation. All right. All right. It will block duplicate actions or raise. I hope I get everything correctly. Stop immediate propagation. Propagation. It prevent multiple handlers on the same element from running. Okay, and it will block duplicate actions. So, but I don't know what is wrong with my code. Stop immediate. No, that's correct. Stop immediate propagation. Okay, for some reasons, I don't know why it's not happening, but the thing is that it's supposed to prevent any other handler. When we have multiple handlers, it's supposed to prevent it from happening. Okay, it's supposed to prevent it from happening, and it's still no. Okay, all right. I don't know why my code is really not working as expected. So let's go to the next one. The composed part, all right, is another method. It will return an array of all the elements the event passed through. Remember, an event would propagate, it will capture from the Windows object down to the target or element, and it will bubble back. So if we try to call this composed part, all right, let's see what it's going to give us. So maybe I will just have to call it here. Maybe I will just take all these guys out. On the click, um, yeah, I'm going to use arrow function here. If you don't understand how to use arrow function, we'll be discussing it in our JavaScript mastery. So make sure you get that course. All right, I'm going to use arrow function here. All right, and I'll put in the event here. So I can say event dot composed part. This will return an array. So I can say console.log. It will return an array of all the elements that this event passed through, from capturing all the elements that are involved in the capturing, the target phase, and the bubbling phase. It will get all of them and put them in this array. So if I go on now and click, every element that was involved, you can see we have 7 of them. So all the elements that were involved in this event, from capturing down to the target to back to bubbling. So it started with the window object, the document object, the HTML, the body, the div, the parent div, and the button. So capturing, remember what we mean by event propagation. So this composed part, this composed part method, it will give you all, to return all the objects that participated in this event, from the capturing phase to the bubbling phase. So if you want to get all the elements that were involved in this event, you can actually use the composed part to get it. So what is event delegation? Event delegation allows you to listen for events at a higher level. We have been doing it already. You can see that instead of listening to the button object, the button element, we are listening at the parent. So it allows event, that is called event delegation. You click a button, instead of you to handle that event on that button, you're handling it at the parent level. Do you understand? So event delegation allows you to listen for events at a higher level, example, a parent element, rather than the individual children. Okay, so at the parent level, you can actually handle that event. We have seen it severally here. We have really seen it. So even if I go back to our code, all right, this is event delegation. Okay, so if I take this thing back to the parent, all right, this is event delegation. I'm not handling the event at the parent, at the child level, at this button level. I'm handling the event at the parent level or even at the grandparent level. So it's called event delegation. The child is delegating the event to the parent element. Okay, so that's what we call event delegation. So instead of handling the event at the element that was clicked or moused over or whatever, we are handling the event at a higher level, at the parent level. Okay, so thank you very much. If there's any confusion, if there's any question, please reach out to us. We're always available for you. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in the next chapter.